an accident that occurred in 1986 at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Station in the Soviet Union, is known as the biggest calamity in nuclear power generation history. The Chernobyl power plant was located in the village of Pripyat, 16 kilometers northwest of Chernobyl and 104 kilometers north of Kyiv, Ukraine. The station featured 4 reactors, each capable of producing 1,000 megawatts of electricity. It had been operational from 1977 until 1983. Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we are going to talk about the disaster of Chernobyl. So let's dig right in. The explosion at Unit 4 and initial containment efforts. On April 25 to 26, personnel at Reactor Unit 4 performed a poorly prepared experiment, which resulted in the disaster. Workers turned off the reactor's power regulating system and emergency safety systems, and they removed the majority of the control rods from its core, while keeping the reactor running at 7% power. These errors were exacerbated by others, and the chain reaction in the core exploded at approximately 1:23 a.m. on April 26. Multiple explosions generated a massive fireball that blasted off the reactor's hefty steel and concrete cover. This, along with the subsequent fire in the graphite reactor core, discharged massive amounts of radioactive material into the atmosphere, where it was carried over long distances by air currents. A partial meltdown of the core happened as well. The evacuation of Pripyat 30,000 residents began on April 27. Responding emergency teams used helicopters to spray sand and boron on the reactor debris. The sand was supposed to put out the fire and prevent more radioactive material releases, while the boron was supposed to inhibit further nuclear reactions. A few weeks after the accident, technicians entirely encased the damaged unit in a temporary concrete construction known as the sarcophagus to minimize additional radioactive material escape. To reduce radioactive pollution at and near the facility, the Soviet government also cut down and buried nearly a square mile of pine forest. The 3 other Chernobyl reactors were later reactivated, but all were finally shut down permanently, with the last reactor decommissioning in December 2000. In August 1986, Soviet nuclear power officials delivered their preliminary accident report to an International Atomic Energy Agency meeting in Vienna, Austria. Deaths, radioactivity, and the creation of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Throughout the first 4 months following the accident at Chernobyl, the severe radiation effects caused by the disaster claimed the lives of 28 of the site's 600 workers. A further 106 workers were exposed to radiation at doses that were high enough to cause acute radiation illness. Within hours of the reactor explosion, 2 personnel passed away from causes unrelated to radiation exposure. Another 200,000 workers who were cleaning up the site in 1986 and 1987 received doses ranging from 1 to 100 rem. The average annual radiation dose for a US citizen is about 6 rem. Over 600,000 people were eventually needed to complete the cleanup efforts following the Chernobyl disaster. However, only a small percentage of these employees were actually exposed to radiation at unsafe levels. The health of those working on the cleanup and rehabilitation is still being monitored by government agencies. Following the incident, the Soviet Union established a circle-shaped exclusion zone around the nuclear power station with a radius of around 30 kilometers. The exclusion zone surrounded the plant and spanned an area of approximately 2,634 square kilometers. It was then increased to 4,143 square kilometers to encompass severely radiated areas beyond the initial zone. Although no one lives in the exclusion zone, scientists, scavengers, and others can apply for permits that allow them to visit for short periods of time. Due to the catastrophe at Chernobyl, large portions of Belarus, the Russian Federation, and Ukraine, all of which are home to millions of people, became poisoned. Concern has been expressed by organizations such as the World Health Organization on the potential for radiation exposure among those who have been moved away from the affected areas. Nonetheless, the vast majority of the 5 million people who lived in contaminated areas were only exposed to very low amounts of radiation, which were on par with the levels found in natural backgrounds. The research that is now available suggests that there is no definite connection between the accident and radiation-induced increases in cases of leukemia or solid cancer, with the exception of thyroid cancer. In 1986, a large number of children and teenagers living in the area consumed milk that was contaminated with radioactive iodine. As a result, their thyroid glands absorbed significant amounts of the substance. To this day, around 6,000 incidences of thyroid cancer have been found to exist among these children. 99% of these youngsters responded favorably to treatment, and by 2005, only 15 children and adolescents across the 3 countries had passed away as a result of thyroid cancer. The research that is now available does not reveal any effect on the number of unfavorable pregnancy outcomes, delivery problems, stillbirths, or general health of children among families living in the most contaminated locations. The Chernobyl tragedy sparked criticism of unsafe methods and design defects in Soviet reactors, and also increased opposition to the construction of further plants of this kind. Following the fire in 1991, Chernobyl Unit 2 was taken down, although Chernobyl Unit 1 continued to operate until 1996. Unit 3 of the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Station continued its operations until the year 2000, when the facility was finally shut down for good. After the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Ukraine took ownership of the facility, which had previously been under Soviet administration. Chernobyl and the abandoned settlement of Pripyat became popular destinations for so-called dark tourists, after the Ukrainian government opened parts of the exclusion zone to organized tour groups in 2011. After a swift but intense struggle, Russian forces that had invaded Ukraine from Belarus in 2022 were able to seize control of Chernobyl. This took place during the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Concerns were raised regarding the risk of damage to the containment structure, as well as widespread radioactive contamination as a result of the conflict that took place at the site of the world's worst nuclear disaster. Now you can see how even a small amount of negligence can result in a major and perhaps life-threatening catastrophe. What do you guys think about it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. That's all for this video. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment on this video if you enjoy it. Till then, take care. Thanks for watching.